All right, we're live. I just had an email come in that our brother Lee Meats, who is 84 years old, lost his home and his barn and many of his outbuildings to fire. I'm assuming yesterday or overnight. And so, my brothers and sisters in the Bear Nation, join me in prayer. Oh, good morning, Father Yahweh. Father, thank you for allowing us to wake up today so that we can come to you and ask for intercession for our brother Lee. Father, what an honor it has been to get to know Lee, and that you've stewarded him these 84 years, and now you bring him to this. So, Father, I pray that you would provide a covering for him, literally, that there would be no loss of life or injury that has resulted from this, that you would restore him, that everything that was, all the worldly things that were taken away by fire, that they'd be replaced in due time. Father, that this would be an opportunity to come to know you better, that you would comfort him, and that you would create opportunities for us to pour out on him, to let your spirit flow through us to him. Father, I know houses and barns and stuff are easily replaced, so I'm not concerned about that, because I know that's something that we can fix. But Father, yeah, I pray that you would just be with that brother, that you would keep his spirits high, that you'd keep him in good health, and that he would be confident in your ability to steward him through this too, in addition to all the other things he's faced. So, Father, may we count it joy when we fall into various trials for the proving of our faith. So I ask that you would smile upon our brother Lee this morning. In Yeshua's name, amen. My gosh. 7.5 years ago, probably 8 years ago now, we had a catastrophic shop fire. $1.4 million loss, which 1.4 is a recurring number in my life. I don't know why. But I know what it's like to lose all your stuff to a fire. And it wasn't even, I mean, some of it, a fair bit of it was my stuff, was our stuff, but it was the company, Vine and Branches, where I was the general manager and my wife was the designer and consultant, but it was my brother Danny's business. And just gone overnight. Turns out wood shops burn up pretty good because they're filled with fuel. So I can relate. So Father Yah, comfort my brother Lee. Our Rocco, where have you been, Mr. Barry? Last Thursday night, I did Pelt Patreon exclusive live stream Thursday, live from the hotel for the ruckus. Then Friday, I spoke at the Refuge Ruckus, as well as Team Crunchy took the trophy in the first annual Creamy versus Crunchy tug of war. Now, I will tell you that Team Creamy 1v1, the 8 guys on the other side of the rope that I was on, they whipped our asses because they had 2,400 pounds a man on the other end of that rope. However, 3-2, Team Crunchy beat Team Creamy, and so Team Crunchy is in possession of the trophy. So Creamy won the battle, Crunchy won the war. So we'll give credit where credit is due. I think if Forgotten Friend was a little bit bigger and a little bit stronger, they might have been able to take it home. Well, there's always next year. So that was Friday. Then on Shabbat, let's see, I performed a wedding, which was beautiful. And I preached for an hour and 42 minutes. And then we baptized to the point, praise Yah, where we lost count of how many people got baptized, 3 or 4 dozen, including bucket list, baptizing my first ever demon. And that sounds like hyperbole, but there were about 100 witnesses and pics and video. So that was really cool. And then on Sunday, we rucked, and that was the completion of the ruckus. And then on Monday, I trained all day for students at Refuge Medical. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I've been here at the homestead building a chicken run with my wife and burning brush and planting all kinds of things, garden and decorative and perennials and annuals and all that stuff. And so I've just not been, I haven't had the words to cobble together to come. Oh, and last night we did the Patreon live stream. So I haven't had the words to cobble together to come speak with y'all, to be frank. That would explain why you look so exhausted. Thanks, Daniel. I actually feel pretty good. I feel pretty good. I would not want to do another 3-day event this weekend, but I could if I had to. We love you. I love you back, JC Fixer. Good morning, Super Crex. So in any event, that's what I've been up to. It's all been wonderful. It's all been absolutely wonderful. But here we are, and I'm sure this is not what you tuned in for. So, Bear Independent brief, 14 March 25. By the way, before we start with that, I want to give a shout out to, let me see if I can find it. There it is. Professional Monkey is a YouTube channel that became aware of yesterday. And apparently, amongst many things, Professional Monkey rides motorcycles. And so he reached out to my mother-in-law. Good job, Dawn. I don't know, a month or 2 ago, and was like, hey, I need a first aid kit for a motorcycle, specifically for motorcycle injuries. And we've had other kits in the past that we put together that were adaptations of what Refuge does for motorcycles. But they came up with the Biker FAC first aid kit. And he got the first one of one. And so he dropped a video yesterday called The Most Important Video I've Ever Done, talking about the need for first aid and this Biker FAC. And Biker facts have been flying off the shelves, and what a blessing, because people need good first aid kits, and Refuge needs the revenue. And so, thank you, Professional Monkey. Thank you, Professional Mother-in-Law. I appreciate both of you. Um, yeah, shop stuff. Been waiting for the biker fact. Well, buddy, you know where to find it. refugemedical.com. And that's all I'll do. No shilling. It's just they're there. And it's been awesome. It's been awesome. Let's see. There will also be content from the Ruckus coming out on this channel, as well as the Caleb House YouTube channel. But specifically, my talk Friday on Romans 8, and then my teaching, most would call it a sermon, on Matthew 6, look at the birds, will be coming out here, as well as my teaching from Men's Retreat ATS 2025 will be coming out here, all that within the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned. It's coming. And I am currently doing the research to begin the study of the book of Zechariah in the Bible. So we will begin Zechariah here within the next 2-3 weeks as well. Yeah, just it's interesting how much the Father has me operating in the Spirit right now, and it's different for me. It's a muscle that I have, but I have only used occasionally to date, and growing pains. Growing pains. So with that, 12 and a half minutes of preamble to separate out the people who think they want to be here but don't actually want to be here. It's wonderful. Bear Independent Brief, 14MAR25. Shout out to the dance monkeys. Recent economic indicators show mixed signals. I'm sure you guys are aware. While U.S. unemployment remains low, inflation has risen from near the Federal Reserve's 2% target to 3% in January, easing slightly to 2.8% in February. Markets have responded negatively, with the NASDAQ down 10% over the last month, the Dow Jones and S&P both down 7%. January saw the first decline in consumer spending in nearly 2 years, dropping by 0.2%. The percentage of households expecting their financial situation to worsen has jumped to 27.4%, while small business optimism about expansion has dropped 5 points, the largest monthly decline since 2020. So Mr. Trump has said on multiple occasions publicly that it's going to be a little pain. It's going to be rough, but then it's going to get better, way better. So there's going to be so much better. You're not going to know. We're going to need giant dump trucks to haul all the better around, but it's going to be very painful first. So this is a primary issue for the American constituency, me included. I think by and large, most of us want to make America great again, which is a great slogan because it's amorphous, it's undefined, right? And so if you're just thinking from a branding standpoint, MAGA, it's like, well, what does that mean to you? Now, so it makes it relatable to everybody. But the problem with that is you're now managing, when it comes to fruition, the unidentified, inarticulate expectations of hundreds of millions of people. So it's a great campaign slogan, but when it comes time to deliver on promises, it can be challenging because the concept of Make America Great Again has only been roughly defined. But to that end, a big part of that is inflation in the economy. right? Um, Inflation in the economy. So, do we still have inflation? Yes. Is the economy great? No. Why do I care about this? Why am I telling you this? I think a lot of people have taken their foot off of the accelerator of preparedness since November 2024, and I don't think that's wise. I am better prepared than 98, 99% of Americans. Like, one of the things on my to-do list is move one of the 1,000-gallon fuel tanks, things like that. I have a dozen sheep I get to butcher, and 13 turkeys on the docket to butcher this coming week. And end, right? Like, we're doing good. And we're doing good because I've been doing this for 20 years. So I'm more prepared than most. And I'm also more engaged in things that could serve as an excuse as to why I couldn't prepare, shouldn't prepare, i.e., business and ministry. So, whatever excuses people have, I have more of them. Whatever preps people have, I have more of them. And I'm still leaning more in the direction of preparedness right now. There's um there's an undertone, an undercurrent of the right that is becoming more and more dissatisfied by the day by the performance of Donald J. Trump. The left is in disarray. They have no leadership. They have no real talking points, no real initiatives. Their ideology has been outright rejected by the majority of the country. Then you've got external pressures. Do we have operational control of the southern border? Yes, that praise Yah, that's great. But the idea of mass deportations, 32,000 people have been deported in the first 50 days. Okay, 32,000 is a significant number, but depending on which report you read, there's anywhere between 10 and 40 million illegal immigrants in the country. So that's a heavy lift, and I understand that. It takes time, right? That it takes time, and I get that. But 32,000 is not 10 million. And I'm just painting the picture here. Whether you agree or disagree with what I'm saying, there's a lot of people that are disenfranchised and pretty quickly. Look at Kash Patel and Attorney General Pam Bondi. No 9/11 files, no JFK files, no RFK files, no MOK files, no Epstein files, no arrests, 2 strongly worded letters, and 50 appearances on public mainstream media news channels. People, myself included, want heads on stakes and traitors in handcuffs, not a media blitz. And so the primer is being set for conflict, domestic conflict. I mean, Fort Knox hasn't been audited. You've got Canada to the north, and now Greenland. There's a little bit of saber rattling there, and then you've got China, Russia. The threats still exist, is my point, and the economy is not great. It takes time. It takes time to turn a very large ship, and the United States is a very large ship, and I agree. And to be clear, I want Mr. Trump to succeed. I want nothing more than, as Pastor Joe says, to bounce his great grandkids on his knee on his front porch. I love that concept. I am in the process of developing land right next door for my two oldest children to build houses and one day have my grandbabies on. That's my long-term strategic goal. That's what I want, but we don't always get what we want. And so looking at the indicators, it's not from a strategic standpoint. It's not a time to cast away stones, as Kohelet would tell us in the book of Ecclesiastes. We're still in gathering stones season, just so we're all on the same page here. Meanwhile, what had begun as an on-again, off-again targeted tariff war is now quickly escalated into a full-blown trade war between the United States and major trading partners, which so far includes Canada, China, and the European Union. President Trump imposed 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum imports, prompting swift retaliation. Canada announced 25% tariffs on $20 billion of American goods, while the European Union targeted up to $28 billion in U.S. exports. Quote, "This game has exploded into other areas," end quote, noted Mary Lovely, senior fellow at the Peterson Institute for International Economics. Ontario's Premier Doug Ford threatened to cut electricity exports to 3 U.S. states, while China added major American companies to government blacklists. And then there's the threat of massive counter tariffs from President Trump of 200% on European wine and champagne. Now, I'll tell you this, as an American manufacturer, one of the hardest things for us has been attempting to break into the European market. And I cannot say in confidence that we have broken into the European market because of the VAT tax. The VAT tax. Now, do we ship kits to Europe? Yes, all the time, on the regular. But by no means any significant volume because of the VAT tax. It's 25%. So if you got $100 order, it's $125. $200 order, $250. You got $1,000 order, it's $1,250. That makes it hard to compete from a price point standpoint. Not that we've ever tried to compete on price point, but I get it. Money is money. We each only have so much of it, right? And so the reason that the EU instituted the VAT tax or value-added tax is so that Europeans would keep their revenue in the European Union. It makes sense. It is for everybody who is harumping, chastising Mr. Trump right now on his concept of tariffs. Most people fail to realize, there have been 200 to 300% tariffs on myriad products coming from the United States of America into Canada. There's been a 25% VAT tax into Europe for American manufactured products for 5 years, maybe longer. 5 years that I've been aware of that I've had to deal with it. And the reason for that is so that domestic production is prioritized on the consumer side in each of those regions. The Canadians buy Canadian stuff, that Europeans buy European stuff, that Americans buy American stuff. Okay, so it's the same thing that Mr. Trump is doing now, that everybody wants to poo-poo. This has been going on for a long time. The European VAT tax has hindered our ability to sell into that market severely. And again, we sell kits into Europe every week, sometimes every day, sometimes significant orders. But all the companies that we've looked at to partner with in Europe, and we've talked to several, Polenar Tactical and Varust Leica and several others, a couple of Italian outfits, to become the de facto importer of refuge medical in Europe. We just can't make the numbers work to where there's any meat left on the bone for me and for them, and to provide a product at a reasonable price to Europeans who frankly want to buy our stuff because it's better than what they can get over there. And there's also they have a significant problem in Europe, just like the rest of the world, that there's a lot of knockoff Chinese equipment in Europe, medical equipment in Europe that doesn't work. And then you get to places like Ukraine. There's a lot of interesting footage coming out of Ukraine. Again, strategic thinking for you. There's a lot of really interesting footage of air quote field hospitals in Ukraine that are nothing more than wall tents with, in some cases, just a folding table in the middle of it. And there are racks on the wall, which are drying racks, where tourniquets, pressure bandages, and even gauze that has been used to treat wounds is being thrown into a water bath canner to serve as an autoclave and then being hung on racks to dry so that it can be reissued. Gauze, $3 gauze. It's being reissued in Ukraine. $30 tourniquets are being reissued. Reissued. Already covered with some other dude's blood. Reissued in Ukraine. And so what not only is there a sanitary problem there, it's a supply chain logistics issue there, which amazes me for the hundreds of billions of dollars that have been poured into that conflict. They're reissuing knockoff tourniquets because it's all they got. And some knockoffs, frankly, are better than others. Some are better than others. There's a domestically produced Ukrainian tourniquet that is basically a one-to-one knockoff of the Cat Gen 7. And the issue there becomes that nobody wants to talk about this. Patent infringement. How do you enforce patent infringement in a court of a court of international law in the midst of a global conflict? You don't. Not successfully. You just suck it up and take it. And so for us, we tend to think, I've got some stuff. It'll be fine. Yeah, it is. It's fine for day one, week one, month one. But is it fine for year one? And most people tend to prepare up to the level of conflict or problem they are capable of imagining, which is why Pastor Joe, I guess I'm showing for Pastor Joe this morning. I think his Patreon's $5 a month. If you're not on Pastor Joe's Patreon, you should be. I am. I watch pretty much everything that he puts out, and I know the man in person, and we hang out, and I love him. Okay, so it's high quality information. But Pastor Joe likes to say, contemplate the unthinkable. Think about the really heavy things. As a guy who has 8,000 square feet of medical equipment, I don't think I've got enough for long-term protracted conflict in the United States. I have 8,000 square feet of gauze, tape, gloves, disinfectant, tourniquets, chest seals, etc., etc. I mean, $1 million worth of inventory. And I don't think I've got enough of all the things. I have semi-loads of food put in buckets. You go and see, here's the thing. You go long enough in a conflict, you are forced to shift if you want to survive from consumption to production. And that's why we live on a homestead. And that's why I'm building the world's most ridiculous chicken run right now that literally required 60 yards of dirt work in order to prep for the chicken run. Because my wife is a little psychotic when it comes to chickens, and I'm here for it because I don't want to starve to death when the world ends or when RFK Jr., who's supposed to be making America healthy again, decides that all chickens have to be vaccinated against the bird flu, even though bird flu is just terminology for murder all of your laying hens and meat birds, gas them all so that we can drive up the domestic price of eggs and chicken. Okay, but I digress. The rapid escalation has been sending ripples through financial markets and boardrooms alike as uncertainty spikes. According to a straw poll of about 100 major U.S. CEOs at the Yale Chief Executive Leadership Institute, 85% believe the tariffs are backfiring and 94% worry they will fuel inflation. The Business Roundtable reported that its CEO Economic Outlook Index has dimmed with executives cutting plans for hiring and investment. Now, I will tell you this, regardless of whether or not you think tariffs are a good idea, back to Trump's point of there will be pain. In order to hire and expand, you need money. And there's like 3 ways to get it. One is to bootstrap. You sell a product costs you $100, or the retail price is $100 and it costs you $60 to produce. That 40 in the middle, that's your gross profit, and then you deduct all your operational expenses from that. So you got $20 in operational expenses to produce that thing. These are all good margins, by the way. That leaves you $20 in net profit. So every time you sell something for $100, you net $20. So you keep doing that until you got a stack of $20 bills, and then you reinvest that in hiring more people, buying new equipment, building buildings, acquiring land, buying inventory, et cetera, et cetera. That's called bootstrapping, and that is my preferred method of building companies. The next is you borrow money from a bank. That would imply, A, that you qualify to borrow money from a bank, B, that the bank has the money to loan to you, and C, that they approve your intended use for that money. So there's some hurdles there. What I don't like about that is you're now paying back the bank loan at interest. Can't think of it's kind of like a mortgage, but for your company. So it gets dangerous. You miss 3 payments, you don't have a company anymore. And the challenge with the company is that you don't control the external factors. I don't control if Trump puts tariffs on something, or if the European Union changes the VAT tax, or if China floods the market with cheap product. I don't control any of those things. And so it's a wager is what it is. It's a bet. I'm betting that things are going to go well. So I'll take a loan against it. And then the third way that you can get money is from people that also lend money that don't necessarily have the scruples of the ensconced financial institutions, the mob, etc. And here's the problem with that. Number one, banks are just mobsters in suits. They just are. And do I like my local bank? Yeah. Do I have money in there? Yeah. Do I understand how it works? Yeah. And do I know who they work for? They work for mobsters in suits. And the problem with the mob is if you miss 3 payments with them, not only do you not have a business, you also don't have legs anymore. You might not have a pulse anymore. And so things can get a little rough there. And the terms tend to change. You think you're borrowing at 10%, next thing you know, you're borrowing at 20% because they said so. So you have to have money to hire people and expand operations. And consumer confidence is down significantly. The top 20% of earners in the United States of America currently account for 50+% of discretionary spending. So half of all the money that's spent in the country is being spent by the top 20% of earners in the country. And that top 20% starts at $250K take home and up. I'm sorry, $250K gross and up. And $250K sounds like a lot of money. And I'm sure comparatively for a lot of people, it is a lot of money. But it's, in the big scheme of things, it's not a lot of money. It's not, because at that tax bracket, you don't have $250K, you got $125K. That's your take home. Now, Mr. Trump has proposed ending taxes for anybody who earns $150K or less. Just completely getting rid of taxes. And there's a lot of clamor for that. That would be a great idea, says the populace. And I think if you are one of those people, 150K or less, you're talking about either very, very, very small business owners, whom I love dearly. I relate, I get it. And W-2 employees, whom I also love, but they're rowing a different boat than I am. That would serve to further penalize people like me who have 47 employees. And even 47, which sounds like a large operation, is comparatively not a large operation. I mean, just to give you an idea, if you want to get a company quote for health insurance and retirement benefits plans in the state of Oklahoma, that starts at 200 employees, still a small business. Okay. So earning 150K or more per year, if you earn less than that, no more taxes. I think that's great for the people who earn less than that. But what about the people who earn more than that, who employ all the people who earn less than 150K per year? So now I got to pay even more taxes. And check this out. How do you define earnings? Because in 11 states, including Texas and Oklahoma, inventory valuation is considered taxable. It's an asset. So if I have $1 million in inventory at Refuge Medical, does that mean I have $1 million? No, it means I got $1 million worth of stuff. Those are two very different things. One's a fixed asset, the other's liquid. It's not cash. It could be cash if we do our jobs appropriately and convert it into cash. You see my point here? So you start stacking even more taxation on the upper echelons, it's going to actually hurt business. Does that make sense? It's actually going to make it even harder to hire more people, to expand, to provide even better customer service. I think that will require companies to further incorporate artificial intelligence into their operations, which seems to be an undertone with this administration, which is not something I enjoy. I'm not using robots, literal and figurative. We've tried to humanize every aspect of our business at Refuge Medical, knowing that comparatively, compared to others, it will create operational drag. It will actually increase the cost of operating. But I want, when you get on the chat, you talk to a person. When you call the store, you talk to a person. When you email somebody, a person emails you back. I've yet to see a robot that needs a tourniquet. Okay. We're for people, and therefore we employ people. So I don't appreciate the undercurrents of the AI revolution from this administration and global leadership. And it's one of the things that makes me question the friendliness between Elon and Trump. Elon has a lot of power. And I don't want wires in my brain. I think some people do need wires in their brain. There's a lot of people that have had significant health issues, whether they were born with them or they acquired them through the course of living, that wires in their brain has been a game changer for them. I don't want wires in my brain. I don't really want, cryptocurrencies. I don't want an artificial intelligence surveillance and nanny state tracking everything that I do. And we're already gearing in that direction. What's up, brother Gas? Shalom. Of course, some American manufacturers support the tariffs, seeing them as protection against foreign competitors. Stephen Capone, President Capone. Now, interesting. I wonder what his ethnic background is. President of Capone Iron Corporation. Oh, into he's in steel, and his last name's Capone. Hmm. I already have a mental image of this guy. In Massachusetts. Oh, Boston is in the Boston area. I'm sure all of his business operations are completely above board. 100%. Believes the measures will ultimately benefit domestic industries. He said of Canadian steel fabricators, quote, they control 95% of the publicly funded construction projects and over 80% of the private market. And there aren't much of us left, actually. They have been systematically and intentionally boring their prices and putting us out of business, end quote. Other types of businesses are caught in the crossfire. Major food manufacturers such as PepsiCo, ConAgra, and JM Smucker have requested exemptions for ingredients that are simply not available domestically. Walmart reportedly asked Chinese suppliers for significant price cuts to offset tariff impacts, prompting Chinese officials to summon the retail giant for a meeting. One Chinese media post read, quote, Walmart's demand for Chinese suppliers to bear the full tariff burden is unreasonable and disrupts fair competition and international trade order, end quote. And added that Chinese authorities could, quote, take further action if Walmart continues to push for discounts. There will be pain in the short term. Hopefully not the long term, but in the short term. Walmart is the world's largest retailer and the world's largest private sector employer, overshadowed only by the United States federal government public sector when it comes to number of people employed. So just think about that for a minute. The US federal government employs more people than the world's largest retailer. Okay. But Walmart's business model is and has been for decades buy cheap Chinese crap and sell it at a markup here. Things change. You may remember, if you're old enough, a time when the internet was new. When, in order to get on the internet, there was a copper phone line that was run into the back of your desktop computer, and you'd hit a button, and it would make noises that sounded like two angry robots fighting. And that's exactly what it was. It was your modem talking to the modem from the telecommunications company. Be-doo, be-doo, be-doo. Remember that? I know for a lot of us, for the youngsters in the chat right now, you're like, shut up, grandpa. But yeah, it was like that. And that was the Web 1.0. Okay. Web 2.0 was e-commerce and the advent of things like the earliest social media. YouTube is what, 15 years old, something like that. And now we're up to Web 3.0 apps, Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok. Those are all on the internet. Those are all internet interfaces. My point here is, prior to the internet, commerce was exclusively retail. You might have some mail order catalogs and, Sears and Roebuck and whatever. Remember the catalogs that used to come around for like all the Christmas stuff? You could get everything from wreaths to tins of popcorn to Daisy BB rifles, all that. Remember that back in the day? I mean, at one point in the nation's history, you could mail order a machine gun. Super cool. For $10.95, a Thompson gun would show up on your doorstep. I know, it's mind-blowing for a lot of the youngsters in the chat, okay? But then here came the internet, and it revolutionized how we communicated, and therefore how we transacted. Hold on, I gotta close this. It's getting a little bright. Is that better? Yeah, that's slightly better. Okay. Finger hut. Exactly, Sigrid. The internet revolutionized the way we do business, and companies were forced to adapt. And many of them did, and they're still here. You can go on Walmart.com right now or Amazon. I mean, everybody in this chat has given Jeff Bezos money. Some of y'all today. Okay. So businesses adapt. So forgive me if I don't cry tears on behalf of Walmart corporate for complaining that, oh no, costs are going to go up. Well, some of us little guys have been feeling this for 5 years. And if Walmart needs to adapt, they will. A company operates in its own best interest first. And Walmart is the largest retailer on planet Earth. But you and me will bear the brunt of that because they can't absorb all of those costs, and China won't absorb all of those costs. The ripple effects of these rapidly escalating tariffs are widespread, and the speed at which they are increasing is only heightening concerns about potential economic damage. Kent Smetters, faculty director at the nonpartisan Penn Wharton model, now considers it a toss-up whether the U.S. economy will stumble into a recession this year. We've been in a recession for 5 years anyway. Simon Johnson, head of MIT's Global Economics and Management Group, warned, quote, if he, Trump, keeps going in this direction, prices will rise and the economy will slow even further, end quote. And the economy is a big deal. We have 3 pieces of bonus intel here as sent into Texas Sheep Lady. Sears had houses in their catalog, 100%. 100%. 3 pieces of intel sent into, see, Badger already got it in the chat, intel@bearindependent.com. Thank you, brother. Thank you. So, we were talking last night on the Patreon live stream, gold and silver and my strategy there. So I'll briefly recap this. I think gold is an excellent vehicle for preserving wealth during economic instability. I see neither as an investment strategy because I do not intend to ever liquidate gold or silver. But I've been buying precious metals for as long as I've been preparing. Sometimes a little bit at a time, sometimes not at all, depending on what my own personal economic situation is. Sometimes fairly large quantities if I've got the fiat currency to burn on it. But I don't buy them from an investment standpoint because I don't intend to ever liquidate it. I buy it as a monetary unit for if/when the dollar collapses. And for that reason, I personally advocate for myself and everybody I actually do life with that I see on a regular basis. Small denomination silver. Small denomination silver. 1 ounce silver rounds, which spot price is $34.50 an ounce or something like that right now. The reason we have coinage is it allows us to trade societally over the course of human history. It allows us to trade dissimilar things. If Scuba Rob wants to buy a goat and I want to trade him 2 chickens for it or whatever, these two things are not the same. So I'll give you 2 chickens and 3 silver rounds for a goat or whatever. Hey man, how much is a bucket of wheat? I don't know. Give me a silver round for it, or maybe 2 silver rounds. And my point here is I would like to avoid having to break out the hacksaw and the scales to start dealing in gold, because the monetary value of gold is far higher than the monetary value of silver, which means it's easier to acquire and to trade silver back and forth amongst people. And so I'm probably 90% in silver, 10% in gold. And gold is a hedge against financial instability for me. Silver is a mechanism for trade. For me, that's the way that I look at it, and I don't see it as an investment because I don't intend to ever liquidate it. Now that may change over time, but I don't intend to ever liquidate it. Almost lost. I use the belt kit as my motorcycle fact. It attaches and stores perfectly right behind my windshield. That's awesome. Almost lost. I appreciate that. I have one. No, I did have one. I sent it to Moons Out, Goons Out 2025, which 2 of our goons arrived at Moons Out, Goons Out 2025 yesterday evening, and they will be training in the dark under Nod's tactical medicine as part of one of the stages for about 125 participants in a brutality style shooting competition in the dark. And there's two categories. What am I looking for here? You can shoot either passively or actively. Guten Morgen, Rocklick. So, there's divisions. That's the word. There's 2 different divisions, active and passive. And one of the stages that the shooters will be running through will require triaging and treating and transporting a casualty that has an egregious leg wound, where the shooters will have to wound pack, bandage, and buddy drag a casualty under the tutelage of 2 of my guys. One's love him, former law enforcement officer, one of my best friends, and the other is a 6'10" recon Marine. So that's gonna be fun. With strength I burn, says King Crow. One of my favorite songs. I covered it. It's available on drums now on this channel. Wasn't perfect. It was about 98%. Really enjoyed it. I love that song. I've loved that song forever. It's kind of my personal anthem. With strength I burn. I've been trying to figure out the levels when recording that stuff, because I need to be able to hear the drums, but I also need to be able to hear the music in my ears, and I don't have it quite dialed in yet. You're definitely your worst critic, Bear. Well, thanks, Kevin. So it's accuracy. Right, like when you shoot a rifle or a handgun or whatever, like what your goal should be accuracy, right? You want all your hits inside of this. It's the same thing with music. It's accuracy. And so with drums, the accuracy is both in the timing, but also the notation. So there's 2 different elements there. And then in metal drumming, you add in the physicality, the endurance that is required to play that type of music at the appropriate tempo, the timing, which with each hit landing where it's supposed to be, and then having each hit on time and quality, a good clean hit on the right drum or the right cymbal at the right time. with both hands and both feet at the same time. So, um, so 98% is a good score, right? But it's not 100. And one could argue, is it possible to get 100? And the answer is yes. Yes, I used to be a 100% player when I played, for hours every day. I don't play for hours every day anymore, so 98% is acceptable. But as a former 100 player, I know that I can do it, and I want to get back to 100. National intel at bearindependent.com. Went to the local feed mill where I source my pullets each year just to inquire, and was told that the 600 that were incubating for spring sale were sold out in 30 minutes. When they sell out, they source from the next county over. 10,000 chicks were culled because one tested positive for avian flu. So no second round of chicks this year. I don't think the great egg shortage of the post-Biden era is going anywhere anytime soon. On another note, chicken breast is on sale at Giant for $1.97 a pound. The math ain't mathin', feels like we're getting clucked over. Good thing my flock is healthy. On another note, something that my wife and I have observed, read chicken, is that from certain restaurants, the chicken does not have the texture of chicken. It's both rubbery and stringy to the point where my wife said, "Is this lab grown?" And I was like, "Gosh, I hope not." Exactly, Rescue. Exactly, Kevin. Printed chicken, lab grown. I'll tell you what, we know what chicken is. I got 100 of them running around in my front yard. We eat these little bastards all the time. I know what chicken tastes like, feels like. I know chicken. I know. I got 200 pounds of a pressure can right now. I know chicken. What's up, Iridium Group? Or 3D printed. That's what I'm saying. It's disquieting. And particularly, we observed this at a Chili's restaurant, the same Chili's restaurant, on several different occasions. So, just a note, if anybody else is experiencing that out there, please email intel@bearindependent.com. Next, I thought I would share this tidbit. Most of the Bear Nation will already be aware of most of this. However, it may be helpful to others. During the first week of March, I received a text on my spare phone, a recycled number, which at one time belonged to a young male leftist activist. The wording of the text seemed innocuous enough until the Supreme Court decision came out and several analysts brought up a point about the swing votes. The wording of the text said that they needed to forcefully take back the government. Their emphasis, not mine. Then it went on to talk about how the 5 open House seats that will come up for a vote, which was why I originally blew off the text as unimportant and deleted it. The weather will soon warm up, and so will the emotional temperature of the socialist and communist movement. Keep alert, keep ready to respond with assistance, first aid, or defensive aid. May the Father bless his people and make us ready. Amen. We're not out of the woods yet, especially from the potential for domestic conflict. Keep your eyes on that. Well, they shut down USAID. No, they identified waste within USAID. And then the continuing resolution from a budgetary standpoint that was just passed funds the U.S. government at Joe Biden levels. And a lot of people were cheering for Thomas Massie, saying he's the only one that isn't bought out by AIPAC, American Israeli Political Action Committee, which is why he did not vote on the continuing resolution, did not approve of it. Space Baby, I do have recordings of me in bands, but they're not anything that I recommend people listen to today because they're not honorific of the Father. So maybe one day that's why I've been playing the drums on camera for y'all, as you can hear me playing drums to songs that it's not you anymore. Yeah, Nick, that's correct. But so if it's not me anymore, then why even promote that stuff, right? So anyway, USAID got defunded. Thomas Massey. Oh yeah, he didn't vote on the continuing resolution bill because he's not bought and paid for by Israel. Until you dig into who his number one campaign donor is. Jeffrey Yoss, Israeli billionaire. Oh, well, there goes that. Numachan says, ship move by Trump calling to primary Massey. Yes. Agreed. And I like Thomas Massey as much as anyone can like a politician. But don't think for a minute that he's not a politician. He's a politician. Just because he didn't take AIPAC money doesn't mean that he didn't take other people's money. He did. And those people are the same exact people that also fund AIPAC. It's called a cutout. We do it all the time. When you don't want your name on something, I mean, we operate Caleb House with cutouts because you can't just go swipe the Caleb House debit card in many, many cases. Not when you're operational, not when you're doing stuff. So you have cutouts. Simple as that. And if it's some random dude from Oklahoma with, just a fistful of training knows these things, so does everybody else. Okay. It's a cutout. So is Massey as awesome as everybody wants to think that he is? I don't think Massey's a bad guy, but don't think for a minute that he isn't bought and paid for like every other politician we have. By the way, Donald J. Trump took $230 million, almost $250 million from AIPAC in this recent election, which is why when we turned off foreign aid to all countries, it was all countries asterisk, which is why another $14 billion has already gone out the door to Israel, which is why the Epstein files haven't been released because of their implications with national security, which is why yada, 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 which is why you don't have the 9/11 files or the RFK files or the MLK files or the JFK files or any of the other files. The shadow government, we'll just say the shadow government is located in the Middle East. And they wear pot holders on their heads. Bear, don't insult the yarmulke. Listen, I have nothing against Elder Brother Judah. I have a lot against the corrupt nation state of Israel, which is a secular nation. None of its founding documents even mention the creator of the universe. And the nation state of Israel is not biblical Israel. That is a lie that has been repeated by the evangelical church to get Christians to support the nation state of Israel forever and a day. And I'm not here for it because I've read my Bible. I'm on my 11th read through right now in the New Testament, 11th in the last 7 years. I've read all of the New Testament and most of the Old Testament on camera with y'all, and I study the Word. I'll prove it to you real quick with the Bible. The law of first mention. Where do we first see this term? Any term in the Bible. Israel is in Genesis 32 when Jacob wrestles with God, Elohim, Hashem, Adonai, El Shaddai, Yahweh, pick your pronunciation, wrestles with God. And he is renamed Yisrael, Israel. which becomes tribes of people, his descendants. The land over there was always called Canaan, not Israel. Israel is a people group, not a place. Always biblically has been a people group, not a place. And Israel means he who is struggling with Elohim, he who is overcome with Elohim, God, and he who is ruling with Elohim. Well, how do we overcome? By the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony, which means Messiah is in the middle of Israel. There's no Messiah in the middle of that nation state over there. And then you get into Talmudic rabbinic instruction versus the word of God. And that's a very deep rabbit hole. My point is, I'm not anti-Jew, even a little bit, but I am anti-nation state of Israel. And I really don't like the fact that most, if not all, of our politicians are bought and paid for by the nation state of Israel. Especially when we've been promised things here by our duly elected representatives in government that have not come to pass because of the national interests of Israel. No thanks. I'm good on that. And that is one of the myriad undercurrents leading to the dissatisfaction with the 47th presidency of the United States of America right now. Which is why you have executive orders on anti-Semitism, which violate the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America. Which I'm not happy about, because I'm not an anti-Semite. I'm anti a country the size of New Jersey, halfway around the world, dictating what happens in my daily life. I'm anti that for sure. And Pauly's Shortcuts, Christ is King of Kings, 100%. They are literally trying to outlaw the phrase Christ is King. That's going to be a losing proposition. You want to get 2 billion people on your ass? Make it illegal to say Christ is King. Yep. So, last bit of intel. I live in the Myrtle Beach area and work at MYR Airport and Walmart. I can confirm that the Blackhawks are being used for dumping fire onto the wildfires. I will share videos to your Instagram if I remember. The SCDNR were doing controlled burns in the Lewis Ocean Bay Hunting Preserve last week, as they do every couple of years. Their controlled burns were completely put out and had left the area. 2 days later, there was reports that a family that lives on the backing of the preserve had a massive bonfire that got out of control, which started the wildfire. This is just hearsay from the local media outlets. The last update, the acreage burned as of Thursday, was over 2,000 acres. The storms that came through Wednesday afternoon did help the spread. Neighboring communities in the area are running sprinkler systems nonstop to help protect the housing. Heavy smoke all over the county depending on the wind direction. There's a lot of people having breathing issues and urged to stay indoors if possible. Wear N95 masks if I have to go outside. I know that there are a lot of locals in the area that are supplying resources like food and water to emergency personnel and first responders. First responders have been working 24-hour shifts to help combat the blaze. I've not heard anything about FEMA or any other outside organization in the area to help with the wildfire. So FEMA can't come in unless the governor declares a state of emergency. I know that there are several wildfires all over the area and the state. South Carolina, especially near the coast, has been in a drought for about 2 or 3 months. The retention ponds that are used to collect rainfall from storms off. Bad syntax. I don't know what that means. They're just off. The ponds are off. Somebody flipped a switch. Off. The coasts are almost dried up in several areas of the county until a few days ago when a storm came through. There really hasn't been any precipitation since the snowstorm we got about a month ago, where dropped 7 inches of snow. Snow didn't stay on the ground for more than a couple of days because the temperatures rose back up into the 70s. It's been around that temperature for about the last month. There isn't much more I can report on or give as of right now, but I will update you next week in the intel if anything else develops or happens. Thank you. No, thank you. And if they turn the ponds back on, please let us know. I would like to know. A couple of thoughts on this. Number one, people, to the extent that they do prepare at all, prepare for things like Russian invasion or zombie apocalypse or whatever. You should prepare for the most likely threat first, and weather is the most likely threat. Fire is part of weather. Unfortunately, more and more part of weather these days, and weather no longer means what the earth decided to do, because there's lots of people that are engaged in weather modification. Fact, proven. And setting fires that shouldn't be there. Okay. But my point here is hurricane, tornado, fire, flood. You need to have a plan for that. How do I get out of here? How do I get out of here? I can't stay here. To that point, a lot of people in the prepper community have bought things like this. Come on out of here, cheap Chinesian bag. Oh, look, it's a gas mask with a filter. Okay, and this. Why this? Why? Look, can you read that little tab right there? What does that say? Oh, totally made in China. We make a best for you. No problem. You touch a bag, give you skin cancer. Very good for you. Very good for me. Very good for everybody. You die, we take over country. Happy, happy. Big smile face. So, but you go on the internet and you get your Mira Safety C21 or whatever it is, and you have one of these for when the world ends. Cool. Also works good in smoke, where there's fires. So, just something you might think about, and have a plan to get out if needed. Now, I'm also bringing this up because West Texas and Western Oklahoma today, Lubbock, Texas, is forecasting winds up to 90 miles an hour. Now, as they blow across Texas and Oklahoma, by the time they get to me, the forecasted winds today are in the 30 mile per hour range. But that's still a significant amount of wind. 90 mile an hour wind forecasted in Lubbock, Texas today. There's going to be a lot of things that get broken by that wind. Wind turbines, power poles, trees, structures. So be aware of that. That's a potential hazard. Dust storms. There you go, Texas sheep lady. So most likely threat first. You need I gotta leave here on short notice plan for all the reasons. Okay. A lot of turbines out there. I know, Flyover Joe. I put a lot of them out there. Then wind turbine flex will be tested for sure. They're going to break, Kevin. A lot of them are going to break. 65 mile an hour wind in New Mexico right now, Sparky. Yeah, so think about driving. Semis getting blown off the road. Vehicles getting blown off the road. This is just wind, homies. It's just wind. Supposed to hit over 100 degrees in South Texas today, Ken. Yeah, that sounds like your typical March in South Texas. Ugh, don't miss it at all. Bear Priza to do brief and great Chinese impression. Thank you, Kevin. You're welcome so much. I'm very happy, Kevin. You come here today. Make a smile, happy face for you. We talk about a best of intel. I got all the intel off a giant balloon I put over top of military base. They're totally not a spy balloon. A happy face party time balloon. We make a good time balloon. Uh, I know try to take over your country. We'd be a good friend. I poison your dog with poison dog food. I poison your kid with red paint toys. No problem. I buy all politician belong to me. I took a Taiwan because I want to make all chips. These are my chips now. These are my chips. We'll have a big fight, Pacific Ocean. Probably kill all you people, which is fine. I own 38% farmland. Come to your place. I make all the farmland of mine. I now nuke you because nuke are bad. Nuke are making me grow in dark. I don't want to grow in dark. So me buy our politician, kill all people in Pacific Ocean and with cancer, make a bad stew. Tony Fauci and CIA and Mossad, they say, you make a good bad stew. I said, thank you so much. They said, please, we buy bad stew? I said, oh, of course. Or $1 trillion. So I sell $1 trillion bad stew to Tony Fauci, and he make all military people take it and stick an arm and die. And then have a no more military. Plus, we put the gay people in the military and people to take a shit in litter boxes. And so make it very, very big, easy for me to come and kill all you people. And then we have a great, great China. North America, China is so big. Everyone love it. It's very, very good. That's why we know America Trump. Trump a very bad person. It's fine. We shoot him in the ear, and then we put a man with a gun at golf course. It's very good. Very good. China love America. We love America. Please buy all our Chinese bullshit so you die super fast, okay? Okay. Chinese Trump. Anyway, what the hell are we talking about? Point being, prepare for the most likely course of action. This is what going to get a pedicure today will be like. Gas on mask. Thank you, MC Uber. So that's the first thing that comes to mind. The wind, right? So this is just like Earth doing Earth things. So be aware of that. And then let's see. What was the other thing that came up here? N95 masks. We talked about that. Yep. FEMA's not going to come in unless the state declares a national emergency. Water's a big deal. It's a really big deal. Most people think, yeah, I got a few extra cases of water in the garage. I'm good. I'm prepped. No, we use water for a lot of things, boys and girls, a lot of things. And so you can't have too much water. That's the show for today. Link is in the description for all the things, the companies and the ministries. All that is in the description. And a special thank you today to the patrons, the economic engine of the Bear Nation. You boys and girls are what allow me to have the best job on planet Earth. I get to do this with y'all. And when I'm not doing this, I get to build chicken coops with my wife. And when I'm not doing that, I get to baptize people and marry people and preach and rescue widows and orphans and fix the aftermath of hurricanes and tornadoes. And that's all because of you. It's not YouTube ad revenue. It's not Refuge doesn't pay me. Grindstone doesn't pay me. Caleb House doesn't pay me. It's y'all. And so thank you for enabling me to be the hands and feet of the Most High to the best of my ability. Nick wants more drum videos. I'm serious. Roger that, Nick. The next one I make will be just for you. Because if I look at the views comparatively, the drum videos aren't terribly popular. But that's okay. I'm going to keep doing them. And I'll tell you guys this real quick before we go. Oh, yes. Caleb House Spring 2025 Amazon gift list right there in the chat. That's if you want to buy stuff for the care houses. That's what that's for. And I think on Monday, Lamppost is going to live stream with me again so that she can tell you guys about that. Um, the flow of content at this channel is going to, here on YouTube, is going to take a subtle shift. I want to analyze the tactical level intelligence from a strategic vantage point. So prepper stuff, but not how to put beans in buckets. I've done 100 videos on that. If you don't know those things, go watch the prepper classroom playlist here at this channel, for real. Like it's very basic stuff, all whiteboarded out, instructional, and that serves as standalone evergreen content forever to help people who are new at this so that you know what to do based upon my 20 years of experience. So I don't want to, if I have to make one more video telling you guys to store food, I'll die, because I've said it for 7,000 videos already. And I don't want to get caught up in the day-to-day tactical news media blitz of Trump said this, Doug Ford said that, Putin said, meh. I want to analyze the data at a strategic level so that it can inform how we operate at an operational and a tactical level. There's also going to be more faith-based content here. Will we continue to read the Bible? Yes. I have to. I made that commitment to the Creator 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Bless you, Brad. But there's also going to be more conversations about faith. And then there's also going to be more content on homesteading. And I'm curious, I'm looking at the chat right now just for your feedback. I'm thinking about doing a series called Welcome to the Country. For all you people who have just moved to the country or want to move out into the country and you don't know your butthole from your elbow, right? Like, welcome to the country. Fluster Cluck, Dana, Colonel Lebowski, Rescue. Okay. All right. So I grew up in the country. I live in the country. I've lived and worked in 38 of the lower 48 United States of America. I've been around. And so I'm thinking about welcome to the country, just kind of instructional tutorial, literally things like welcome to the country, shovels, which to me, they're shovels. But I grew up with a dad that did power construction. I mean, when I was Squish's age, I was dragging a shovel through the front yard. So I know shovel, cool. But most people don't. Shovels, pickaxes, chainsaws, how to dig a hole, how to talk to your neighbors, what a fence should look like and why. Do I hinge the gate on this side or that side? What do I do when my driveway turns to mud in the spring? All of that. Shovels, corn pop. Bless you, Daniel Powell. Thank you. So, yeah, faith, homesteading, strategic level intelligence is the shift here on YouTube that we're going to be making from a content standpoint. And with that, man, do I appreciate y'all. Thank you for keeping us in prayer. Thank you for supporting our companies and our ministries. Thank you. Just thank you. I have the best job on planet Earth, and it's because of y'all. May the Father make his face to shine upon you. May you experience his peace and his shalom this day by the blood of Messiah Yeshua HaMashiach. Amen.